I'm Dr. Bruce Snyder. I'm an associate professor of ecology at Georgia College and State University. And most of the time I teach, but I also do research in the ecology of soil invertebrates. Most of my focus is on earthworms and millipedes, but I also deal with all kinds of other soil invertebrates like scorpions and flatworms and all kinds of things. The hammerhead worms are a group of flatworms. They're in the phylum Platyhelminthes, which is a little different than some of the earthworms, or than some of the worms that you may be familiar with. They're not earthworms. There are lots of different kinds of worms out there, and this is just one group of flatworms. But they kind of have a hammer-shaped head. And so they look a little bit different than what most people are used to. And they are also, at least in the US, these are invasive. They've come from other parts of the world, and they are in our ecosystems now and changing those ecosystems. And there aren't a lot of people who study them. And so I've ended up as one of the people who gets to talk about them. Most of the species that we have are from parts of Asia, and these and lots of other types of soil fauna have gotten to North America through moving of soil, moving of mulch, possibly using ballast as soil was one of the first ways that invasive species came in. And then once they're in the country, they've been moved around with those materials quite often. So when you go to the store and pick up a plant, that plant usually comes with soil, and anything living at that plant nursery or wherever those plants were raised is also coming along with that plant as well. For a lot of these groups, we just don't have really good information on exactly where they are. Part of the problem is that not a lot of people study them. Another part of the problem is that it takes time to actually go to different places and look for them. And once you find them, you have to figure out not just that they're there, but which species are there. And so there are a lot of different types of these flatworms. And for other groups, this is the same sort of issue. Most people can't look at a flatworm and say, oh, I know exactly which one this is. And it takes time to do the collecting and to actually do the identifications as well. They have a venom that they use to kill their prey. So these are predators. Some of them eat earthworms, some of them eat snails or slugs, and they have the same kind of chemical that a number of other organisms have that is fairly toxic. So they have very small quantities of it. It's really good for them to use as a venom to kill their prey. They're probably not too harmful for humans, but I try and avoid handling them anyway. Like I don't touch them directly. I always use gloves or a bag or something like that just to be super safe. We're kind of stuck with them. When you get something like this in an environment, it's nearly impossible to find them all and kill them all. Especially with these sorts of these hammerhead flatworms, they're one of the few things that can regenerate from a piece. So if you take these and you cut them in half, you will get two worms. With a lot of other worms, that's not the case. So you can't cut an earthworm in half and get two earthworms. But these hammerhead worms can easily break apart and make more individuals. So finding them all is really difficult. And they tend to be in the soil or under rocks or logs or under things in the soil. And so they're kind of hard to find anyway. So I think as a kid, I was always interested in the outdoors and bugs and that kind of thing. And when I was going to try and figure out where I was going to go to college, I knew I wanted to go to college. I knew I wanted to learn more about the world. And I got into biology and environmental science programs. I was a double major in those two things. And the thing that really pushed me within biology to do the kind of thing that I do now was doing research as an undergraduate. I worked with a professor who was my entomology professor at the time, and we got a little bit of money to go out and study millipedes and centipedes and spiders and other related organisms. And he gave me a lot of independence to go and read about those things. And I got really into them, and I have not stopped reading about them since.